Do you know what the problem is with people like you? The woman's voice pierced the hallway like glass. You think being quiet makes you worthy, but you're just dot wallpaper. All heads turned. Sophia stood there, her eyes lowered, hands still gripping the silver tray. The rich woman in silk, the hotel owner's daughter, had knocked the entire tray of champagne flutes to the floor. Shards everywhere. Guests gasped, laughed. "You belong under my shoes," the woman hissed, brushing past her as if Sophia's skin might stain her dress. The crystal fragments caught the ballroom light like tiny knives. Sophia didn't speak. She crouched down and began collecting them one by one, fingers trembling, knowing if she bled, they'd probably deduct it from her wages as clumsiness. She could feel their eyes, their smirks, the phones discreetly capturing her shame. But she didn't look up. She never did. Because Sophia had learned, people didn't like it when servants looked them in the eye. Later that night, in the silence of the staff quarters, Sophia sat on the edge of her cot. She wasn't crying. Not anymore. That part of her had shut down years ago. They thought she was invisible, and maybe she was. But invisible people see everything. She saw who slipped out of rooms, who signed with fake names, who bribed and who begged. And more importantly, she listened. The next morning, a note slid under her door. Anonymous, just one sentence. "Come to the West Wing cellar. Midnight. Alone." She stared at it. No one should even know she existed, at least not enough to write her a note. No one cared if she came or went, as long as their beds were made and their secrets buried under fresh linen. Still, she went. Because sometimes the only thing more dangerous than being invisible is being noticed. The cellar smelled like damp stone and rusted pipework. Shadows danced in the corners. He was already there. An older man, maybe in his 60s, janitor uniform, wrinkled hands, sharp eyes. She'd seen him before, always fixing something, always alone. No one knew his name. He was just a handyman. He looked at her, then handed her an envelope. Inside, photos, documents, bank records, a contract with signatures, and then a birth certificate. Sophia stared at it. Her mouth opened, closed. It had her name on it. But the father's name was the hotel owner. "What is this?" She whispered. "Truth," the janitor said, "hidden in plain sight." He explained. 30 years ago, the hotel's owner had a brief affair with a maid. Discreet, disposable. She was sent away when the pregnancy showed. Paid off, threatened into silence. The baby that was Sophia was dumped into the system. No records, no visits, no trace, until someone forgot to burn a document. And now it was here, in her hands. Proof. She didn't sleep that night. The next morning, she worked like nothing had changed, dusted the crystal, scrubbed the toilets, avoided eye contact. But inside her, something had cracked open. All these years she'd been made to feel like nothing, like her presence was an inconvenience, like her silence was proof of inferiority. But now she knew. She wasn't an outsider. She was blood. She belonged more than any of them. Still, she was careful, because people like them didn't give up power, especially not to someone who folded sheets and ate in the basement. She needed more than proof. She needed timing. She needed to make them see her. So she watched and waited. She memorized their schedules. She cleaned their rooms with gloves and eyes open. She read receipts, eavesdropped behind curtains. She found the cracks in the facade. And then she found her, the same woman who'd humiliated her at the gala. Her name was Evelyn. She wasn't just the hotel owner's daughter. She was also under federal investigation, embezzling from the family foundation, laundering money through fake charities. Sophia smiled for the first time in weeks. Sometimes justice comes in layers. One morning, Sophia went to the owner's office. He didn't look up from his desk. "If you're not here with coffee, leave. I'm here with something else," she said softly. "Your signature on a paternity record." He looked up and froze. For a long moment, there was silence. Just the ticking of the antique clock behind him. Then he laughed. Dry, disbelieving. "Blackmail? That's bold for a maid." "I'm not blackmailing," she said. "I'm informing." "Informing who?" She slid a folder across his desk. Inside, every piece of evidence. His paternity, Evelyn's embezzlement. The documents Evelyn never thought anyone low enough to touch linen could find. "I don't want your money," Sophia said. "I want acknowledgement." He read page after page. His hand shook slightly. A color drained from his face. "She'll destroy you," he whispered. "My daughter, she'll ruin you." "She already tried," Sophia said, calm now. "In front of 200 people. I'm still here." He looked up at her. For the first time, really looked. And he saw it. The jawline. The eyes. The quiet defiance. "I want a public statement," she said. "Tonight. At your fundraiser." He hesitated. Then, finally, nodded. But she knew better than to trust that nod. That night, the ballroom was packed again. Sophia watched from the shadows. When Evelyn stepped up to the microphone, all in designer gold and venomous smiles, Sophia noticed the way her father fidgeted behind her. Then he cleared his throat, took the mic. "I have something to say," he began. Sophia held her breath. The crowd hushed. Glasses paused mid-air. Forks froze just above plates. "I have made mistakes," the hotel owner began, his voice unsteady. "Years ago, in a moment of selfishness, I betrayed my family and a young woman who worked for us." People leaned forward. Phones began recording. "She bore a child. My child, I ignored it. Denied it. Buried it." Whispers spread like wildfire. Evelyn's face twisted, her smile faltering. "I have recently been reminded of this truth. And tonight, I want to acknowledge her. Sophia, my daughter." Gasps. One woman dropped her wineglass. It shattered. Evelyn stepped forward, snatching the mic from him. "What the hell are you doing?" But it was too late. Sophia stepped into the light. She didn't wear a ball gown, just her uniform. Clean, pressed, honest. That contrast her plainness beside their opulence was louder than any scream. People stared, blinked, adjusted their lenses, trying to process what was unfolding. Sophia walked slowly toward the stage. Evelyn looked like she wanted to claw the walls. "You're not my sister," she spat. "This is a stunt." Sophia met her eyes, calm. "You're right. I'm not your sister. I'm the part of this family you tried to erase," the audience murmured. Evelyn turned to her father. "She's lying. This is manipulation. You're just letting her take everything." "I didn't ask for anything," Sophia interrupted. "Not money, not property, just the truth." And then she held up a USB drive. "And if the truth isn't enough, I also brought your real face, Evelyn. The stolen funds. The fake charities. The ghost accounts in the Caymans. I've been watching." Evelyn lunged, but her father blocked her. Security stepped forward. Cameras flashed. Someone clapped, then another. And then the whole room. She didn't cry that night. She didn't smile either. Sophia walked out of the ballroom and into the hotel garden, under the same stars she used to wish on when she was a little girl scrubbing dishes in foster homes. Behind her, everything had cracked wide open. In front of her was possibility. But justice doesn't settle overnight. The days that followed were a storm. Evelyn was arrested. Charges filed. Her face all over the news, mascara running, screaming about betrayal. The hotel owner resigned from the board. Sophia quietly declined all inheritance. She didn't want the empire. She wanted to rebuild something new. Still, the media came knocking. From Maid to Millionaire heiress, they got it all wrong. She wasn't interested in their stories, because they only cared now that she was visible. A month passed. Sophia left the hotel. She used some of the settlement money she hadn't asked for, but accepted on her own terms, to buy a small building in a quiet part of town. A community center for women who had been erased, forgotten, humiliated. It had a kitchen, a garden, a classroom, and a rule: everyone eats at the same table. One morning, an older woman came in with a teenage daughter, quiet, afraid, looking for work. Sophia gave them a room and a job. "I can clean," the woman said softly. Sophia smiled. "So can I, but that's not all we're meant to do." Then came the letters from former staff, from maids, bellboys, janitors. "Thank you for standing up. I saw what they did to you. I lived it too. You reminded me I'm not trash." Some signed their names. Most didn't. Sophia kept every letter. She didn't seek fame, but stories like hers don't die quietly. They grow, they spread. One day, the janitor returned. He walked into the center, carrying a toolbox and a small envelope. "I figured you'd need some light in that back hall," he said. She nodded. "And what's the envelope?" He handed it to her. Inside was a newspaper clipping, dated 30 years ago. A photo of her mother, pregnant, standing on the steps of a courthouse, head high, alone. "I took that photo," he said. Sophia looked at him. "Why did you help me?" He shrugged. "Because I remember her. She cleaned with pride, spoke with fire. No one listened. But I did." He tapped her chest lightly. "Same fire." That night, Sophia stood in the back hall, watching the lights flicker on one by one. The place glowed. It didn't need marble floors or chandeliers. It had truth, and truth was more powerful than gold. She often thought back to the gala, the tray, the glass. She never saw Evelyn again, at least not in person. But once she saw a clip online. Evelyn in court, shackled, still arrogant, still furious, still denying everything. But no one clapped for her. No one listened anymore. That was the cost of cruelty. Sophia didn't celebrate her rise. She didn't need applause. But she made one quiet vow. Whenever she saw someone being treated as invisible, she would make them seen. Whenever someone spoke cruelty into the skin of a worker, she would remind them that dignity cannot be erased. That was her inheritance. Not the name, not the money, but the voice. The seasons shifted. The city turned gray with rain, then gold with autumn. Sophia kept working mornings with her hands in the soil, nights helping women fill out job applications or read letters from courts that had once silenced them. She spoke little about what had happened. She didn't need to. The world was speaking for her now. One morning, she received an invitation. A university wanted her to give a talk, not about being a maid or a forgotten daughter, but about systemic invisibility, about class, power, silence. She said no at first. Public stages reminded her too much of that ballroom, the way it burned to stand alone in front of people who pretended you didn't matter. But then she remembered the girl who once slept on a cot next to a moldy boiler, and how badly she would have needed to see someone like her on a stage like that. So she said yes. The auditorium was full, not because of fame, but because people recognized something in her. A quiet strength, a dignity that didn't require decoration. She walked to the podium, waited until the noise settled. Then she spoke. "I was taught to keep my head down, to move silently, to speak only when spoken to, because the world doesn't like it when the help remembers they're human. Murmurs. I was told I didn't belong in the rooms I cleaned, that my silence was a favor to the powerful. But the truth is, the rooms would have collapsed without us. Pause. I was erased until I wasn't. Silence. Then thunderous applause. After the event, a woman in her 70s waited at the exit. She was dressed in a housekeeper's uniform. "I knew your mother," she said, her voice shaking. I watched her walk away alone. I was afraid to follow. "But you didn't just walk. You came back." Sophia took her hands. "We all come back," she whispered, "eventually." But not everyone was glad she'd returned. Weeks later, a letter arrived. No name. Just 6 words. "You forgot where you came from." No return address. Sophia burned it, because she hadn't forgotten. She had simply refused to stay where others had buried her. Rumors circled. Some said she was a fraud, that she seduced the owner, faked documents, played the victim. Others, she was dangerous, that she was gathering secrets from other elites now, planning to destroy them all. Sophia ignored it. Let them talk. Let the rich fear her for once. And yet, not all of them hated her. One day, a young man in a tailored suit walked into her center. Eyes nervous, voice low. "My mother was a cook for that hotel. She died without a pension, no recognition. I just wanted to say thank you." He handed her a key. "To her old apartment," he said. "I kept it. Maybe someone else can use it now." Sophia smiled, took the key. Someone will. It became a pattern. People who had been stepped on began leaving small offerings. A pair of shoes once worn by a waitress who walked 12-hour shifts. A tattered photo of a janitors' union meeting. A comb from a nanny whose own children grew up without her. Sophia created a wall, not for decoration, for remembrance. Every story deserved a space. Then came the documentary. A filmmaker, once a bellhop in the same hotel, asked to tell Sophia's story, not with drama, not with false tears, but with honesty. She agreed, but only if he also told the stories of others, the dishwashers, the doormen, the babysitters, the drivers who slept in cars while their bosses complained about valet service. The film was called Unseen. It went viral, not because it was flashy, but because people recognized themselves in it. And suddenly, being the help no longer sounded like shame. It sounded like backbone. Evelyn saw it too. She wrote Sophia from prison. Just one sentence. "You'll never be one of us." Sophia didn't respond, because she never wanted to be one of them. That was the whole point. One evening, as Sophia swept the porch of the center, she saw a young girl across the street sitting on the curb, crying. She walked over, sat beside her. The girl flinched, then looked up. Her face was bruised, shirt torn. No shoes. Sophia said nothing for a while. Then, "You're not trash. You're just somewhere they hoped you'd stay quiet." The girl nodded, barely. "Come inside," Sophia whispered. That night, the girl slept in the same room where Sophia used to read old hotel manuals by flashlight. In the morning, she helped make pancakes. And later, when someone asked her who she was, she stood a little straighter. "I help people now," she said. Like she helped me. The center grew. Not in size, but in weight. In meaning. What began as one woman's quiet resistance had become a kind of sanctuary. Not perfect, not polished, but real. Sophia wasn't treated like a saint. She didn't want to be. She was tired sometimes. She got angry. She cried alone when she heard too many stories that sounded like hers. But she never stopped showing up. Because invisibility doesn't disappear in one speech or one film. It fades only when someone keeps looking you in the eye. One morning, she was painting a wall when she heard the news. The hotel where she had once been humiliated, where she'd collected shattered glass in front of hundreds, was closing. Not for renovations. For good. Investigations. Financial collapse. A reputation too damaged to survive. The marble cracked. The chandeliers dimmed. The empire fell. Sophia drove past it that evening. No cameras. No press. Just silence. She parked across the street. Got out. Walked up to the front doors that once rejected her. They were chained, but the glass reflected her now, not in a uniform. Not bent over. Just ... standing. She didn't need to go inside. She'd already taken back everything they tried to steal. A few weeks later, a former manager from the hotel called her. He sounded cautious, maybe ashamed. "I was there the night of the gala," he said. "I didn't stop her from spilling that tray." I laughed. "I shouldn't have. I'm sorry." Sophia said nothing. Then he added, "I want to volunteer, if you'll let me." She paused. "Only if you start by cleaning the bathroom." Silence. Then, "Yes, of course." Justice doesn't always roar. Sometimes it comes in the form of a man on his knees, scrubbing a floor he once made others kneel on. And that was enough. Then came the girl named Lena, 15, angry, brilliant, homeless after her stepfather locked her out. She didn't trust anyone. She sat in corners, arms crossed, eyes full of knives. Sophia saw herself in that look. One day, Lena snapped at a volunteer who offered her a new pair of shoes. "I don't need your charity." Sophia knelt beside her. "It's not charity. It's memory," Lena frowned. "These shoes once belonged to a woman who cleaned houses until her hands bled. She left them for someone who'd walk farther than she ever could. You're that someone." Lena didn't speak for a long time, but she wore the shoes. Months passed. The wall of remembrance grew taller. Sophia added one last item. Her old uniform. Stained, torn near the sleeve, but still whole. She pinned it beside her mother's photograph. Beneath it, she wrote in black ink, "Dignity is not something you are given. It's something you carry quietly until the world is ready to see it." People came from across the country just to read that wall. Not because it was famous, but because it was true. One rainy night, Sophia sat at the back of the center, sipping tea with the janitor. He was older now, slower, but still sharp. "You know," he said, "most people think justice is a loud thing." She nodded. "But I've seen it. Real justice? It's quiet. It's in the fact that no one can make you lower your eyes anymore." Sophia looked down at her hands. "I used to hate these hands," she said, "because they were always cleaning up after someone else's mess." He smiled. "And now?" She looked up. "They build things." Sophia never became rich. She refused book deals, interviews with flashy hosts, endorsements. She didn't want to be consumed. She wanted to stay real. So she stayed where she was most useful, on the ground, next to the people who still hadn't been seen. She didn't need to rise above them. She needed to rise with them. One day, a girl no older than 10 asked her, "Are you famous?" Sophia knelt down. "No, but my teacher showed your picture." Sophia smiled. "That doesn't make me famous. That just means someone finally decided to listen." The girl nodded, serious. "I want to be like you." Sophia tilted her head. "No, you'll be better." Later that week, Sophia stood alone in the hallway, looking at the mural the kids had painted. It wasn't her face. It was a collection of hands, brown, white, wrinkled, tattooed, scarred, all reaching upward. At the top was a simple phrase, painted in thick red letters. "We are not invisible." She touched the paint, felt the layers beneath, felt the truth she'd carried all her life finally land. Years passed. The world changed in small, slow circles. The center expanded into 2 more neighborhoods. Not franchises, communities. Each one carried the same wall of remembrance. Each one had a chair saved near the door for anyone too tired to ask for help out loud. Sophia kept working. No fanfare. No plaques. But something inside her had shifted. She no longer walked with the cautious, quiet steps of a woman waiting to be dismissed. She walked like someone who knew the ground belonged to her, too. One morning, a letter arrived. This one was different. Elegant handwriting, no stamp. It had been hand-delivered. Inside, a handwritten note from Evelyn. From prison. They're releasing me early. Behavior. Connections. You know how it works. But I watched your face on that screen. That documentary. And for the first time, I felt small. Not because of what you said, but because I knew I'd never be remembered the way you will. You took the same pain I used to mock and made it beautiful. You didn't destroy me, Sophia. You outlived me. No apology, but also no denial. Sophia folded the letter, placed it on the shelf behind her desk, and never spoke of it again. Some things didn't need an answer. That afternoon, a local reporter visited the center. Not a celebrity chaser, not a tabloid leech. Just a quiet young woman doing the story on resilience. She sat across from Sophia, recorder in hand. I've been covering stories of people who came from nothing and changed everything, she said. Sophia shook her head. I didn't change everything. I just stopped pretending I was nothing. The reporter leaned in. What would you tell the girl you were 10 years ago, on that ballroom floor? Sophia smiled. That the glass wasn't breaking beneath her. It was breaking around her. She didn't give a grand quote. She didn't cry. But when the article came out, the headline read, she was supposed to stay silent. And under it, a photo of Sophia, standing beside the mural, surrounded by hands of every shape and shade. It went viral again. Not for her, but for what she represented. She got letters from hotel staff across the globe, maids in Qatar, gardeners in Los Angeles, nannies in São Paulo. They wrote things like, you reminded me I'm not dirt. They made me feel like background noise. You made me feel like a voice. Now I look people in the eye. Sophia read each one, then pinned them to the board beside the mural. The wall was no longer just remembrance. It was revolution. Then came the ceremony. The mayor insisted. Not for politics, he said. For the people. Sophia resisted, but eventually agreed. She wore a simple gray dress, same shoes as always. As she walked onto the stage, she looked out at the crowd, not politicians, but janitors, street vendors, social workers, daughters, sons, survivors. She didn't give a speech, just a sentence. My name is Sophia, and I will never look away again. The room stood, no clapping, just rising, in silence, in unity. That was louder than any award. Afterward, she stayed behind to clean up. Habit. One of the volunteers stopped her. You don't have to anymore. Sophia just smiled. I know, but she swept anyway. Because sweeping wasn't shame anymore. It was grounding. It was proof she was still here, still useful, still whole. One winter morning, Lena, now 17, came into Sophia's office, holding her school acceptance letter. Full scholarship. Political science. Sophia stood, hugged her. You made it, she whispered. No, Lena said. We did. Then she reached into her backpack, pulled out Sophia's old uniform, carefully folded. I kept it, she said. You left it on the wall. But I think it belongs somewhere else now. Sophia took it, held it against her chest for a moment, and then handed it back. No, she said, it belongs to you now. So you never forget where you started, and how far you climbed. Lena left that summer, but she wasn't gone. She wrote letters, sent photos, wore the uniform stitched into her graduation gown, and in every speech she gave, she ended with the same words. We were not born to serve. We were born to stand. Sophia grew older. Her hair turned silver. The world moved on, but people still came to the center. Not for her name, but for what she made possible. A place where silence was broken, where pain became fuel, where no one was just the help. One evening, as the sun set behind the building, Sophia sat alone at the mural wall. The light turned the painted hands gold. She closed her eyes, heard the clinking of glass, the cruel laughter, the tray falling. But this time, she didn't flinch, because that moment wasn't the end. It was the start of a crack in the foundation, of a voice rising from the floor, of justice not loud, but lasting. And when she opened her eyes again, the wall stood taller than ever.